Hi, everybody. It's so nice to be here today, particularly as the association is marking its 10th birthday. Happy birthday. Now entering into double digits. So that's wonderful. Yeah, so as some of you know, I've been running mindfulness sessions for shedders. So for over a year now, actually. And I was asked to come along today to give you a taster of a mindfulness practice. But before we start, I just want to maybe talk to you a little bit about what mindfulness is. It's quite the buzzword at the moment. I'm sure you hear a lot about it on the radio. It's pretty much everywhere. But really, mindfulness it's all about learning to live in the present moment, the now. So most of the time, our minds are lost in thought. We're either thinking about the past or we're worrying about the future. But if you were to think back over the last few hours since you woke up this morning, or even in the last day, can you remember any moment when you were fully present? So by fully present, I mean being aware of something as it was happening. So it could be simple things like when you woke up today, do you even remember waking up, being in your bed, or when you got up, placing your feet on the floor? Or the feeling of water on your hands when you washed your hands, or the smell of soap. Or if you were driving in your car this morning, maybe the feeling of the steering wheel in your hands as you drove. The sound of birds, anything at all. Can you just take a moment and reflect for yourself in the last few hours or even the last day? Was there a moment when you were fully present? Because usually when I ask this question, people really struggle to recall a particular moment, which is really interesting. Because if we're not living in the moment, where are we? Where are we living? It's generally in our heads. So there's a statistic that we can have between 12 and 60,000 thoughts in any one day. 12 to 60,000 thoughts. And what's more alarming is that 80% of those thoughts generally have a negative tone. And what's also really interesting is that 95% of those thoughts are generally the thoughts that we would have had yesterday. So we're really good at ruminating. And the science tells us, not that we need to be told this, but having a busy mind or working in overdrive causes us a lot of stress, a lot of unnecessary stress. So our minds are very good. They're wired for survival. That's how we've evolved as a species. They're not wired, our brains aren't wired for happiness. So we are really good at being in overdrive and being on high alert in terms of looking out for danger, for example. But what's quite sad about this is that because we are so often lost in thought, we're missing out on so much of our lives. Our one precious life. So this isn't a dress rehearsal. We don't get to do this again. So with mindfulness, we can learn to deliberately pay attention to what's happening around us and within us in the now, or even to present that in a lighter way, because we don't need to take any of this too seriously, but to pay attention. So even as we sit here, being aware that you're sitting here, you're being mindful, maybe being more aware of what's going on with your mind, in your heart, in your body. So the practice is simply noticing what you're noticing. But, and this is so important, with its spirit of kindness. We are very good, I think, generally at giving ourselves a hard time. So it's trying to meet what we meet with gentleness and with kindness, and letting go of any expectations of how we think we should be. Because again, that's just another thought. So I'll take you through a practice. But just to say, as before I do this, to just do it very tentatively, like you're putting a toe in the water. Because I know when I think back the first time that I practiced mindfulness, I hated it. I absolutely hated it. And the idea, I think I was in a place in Thailand and we had to sit cross-legged, upright, rigid, for about 45 minutes, and I found it quite excruciating. So to be really gentle with yourself. I actually came out in a rush when I first started this. It's quite a radical act to stop. We are, there's so much pressure on us to be busy, to account for ourselves, to be on the go all the time. And actually, we are human beings, we're not human doings. So this is an invitation just to stop and give it a go and see how you get on. So everything I offer now in this practice is invitational. You're in the comfort of your own homes. So really, this is just for you to opt in to if you want to, but if you feel you need to step back or bring your attention somewhere else, just please trust that. Okay, so there's no pressure with any of these kind of practices. So if you feel ready, I'd like to maybe, take you through a 10-minute practice. And we just see how you get on. So the first thing that you should do anytime you're coming to do this is what's called a formal meditation, is just to create a bit of space for yourself. So have a look around your room and maybe seeing if there's any way that you think you could be a little bit more comfortable. So you might like another cushion behind you. If you're cold, maybe throw on another jumper. Whatever you think you might need to help yourself be a bit more comfortable. So that's the first part of your practice. And also, sometimes if you're the type of person who likes to be on the go and is quite active and busy and has a high energy, it can be very hard to suddenly stop. So what can be really nice before you start is just to feel into the body. So even you could just rock the spine gently now, or you could even just have a couple of stretches. So you could interlink the arms and bring them up towards the sky. Nice stretch through the arms, through the side of the body. You can bend over to the left and then over to the right. Particularly if you've been sitting now for a little bit this morning, it can be really nice to ease out any tension in the body. Let the arms come back down again. You could do a couple of head rolls where you just roll the head maybe 2 times in one direction. So this isn't like a form of exercise, it's just a way for you to feel into the body and ease any tension that you might notice. And then do whatever you do one way, do it the same way in the opposite direction. And then you could do a couple of shoulder rolls. You could do them both together or one at a time. Yeah, so just checking again for yourself, anything else you might need. Any other areas that might like to ease any tension. So a practice like this, I find it useful to do it sitting up. It helps me to stay awake. A lot of people fall asleep when they practice mindfulness. It's very common, very common. We're all so tired. But actually the invitation with mindfulness is to fall awake. So if you're the type of person who's likely to fall asleep, maybe don't lie down if you're doing a practice like this. You could even stand up. But even for this morning, if it's your first time, just maybe stay as you are and just find a comfortable posture in your chair. So my feet, I've kicked my shoes off. My feet are against the floor. And the spine is nice and long. So just taking your time now to find a comfortable posture. It's the first gift you can give yourself when you practice mindfulness, is to be comfortable in the body. We don't have to grin and bear anything when we do this. Okay, so if you're feeling ready, you can just allow the spine to be long and supportive. The feet can be connected to the floor, gently connected to the floor. And even now, just being aware that your feet are on the floor, you're being mindful. That's it. That's the practice. So the body is always in the present moment. It's our mind which is elsewhere. So one way to help us to be more mindful is just to simply connect to the body. And it can be helpful to connect to the feet, because the feet are the furthest point away from the busy mind, the busy brain. So the feet are very rarely anxious or stressed. So they can actually be a nice home base for this practice, that feeling of the feet against the floor. Available to you all the time, sitting in your car, standing in a queue, having a difficult moment with somebody, you can just feel that contact of the feet against the floor. And that way you can just become a little bit more grounded. And then tuning into the rest of the body. So As you do this, I like to close my eyes because it helps me go more inward, but you may prefer just to keep your eyes open. But if you are choosing to keep your eyes open, I'd suggest don't be looking around you too much because it's kind of distracting. So maybe you could lower or soften your gaze towards your knees, or even just turning away from the screen. So the eyes can be open or closed, spine is long, the feet are connected to the floor, and the body is connected to the chair. And as you do this, you can even invite a softening in the body, so being supported by the chair. And we'll do a quick body scan just to help us feel more at ease in the body. So starting with the head, sensing the head, resting on the neck and the shoulders. And then into the forehead. If you're noticing any tension here, you can invite it to soften, but you don't have to force it to go away. And the same into the eyes. And if your eyes are closed, you might notice some light filtering through the eyelids. And if your eyes are open, just noticing what you can see, maybe any colors around you. And then the cheeks of the face, the nose and the mouth, the lips, the inside of the mouth, the jaw. And if you're noticing any tension around the jaw area, you could gently just allow a slight gap between your teeth. And then out to the ears. You might be able to hear various sounds around you, either within the room, through the computer system, or maybe even further, a field outside the room. Another nice way to be present is just to notice what you can hear at any given moment. Another doorway to being mindful. And not having to try too hard, just resting in the sense of sounds. And then down into the neck, the shoulders, the chest, the belly, the arms, hands, the pelvic region, so the contact of the sit bones against the chair, the thighs, the knees, the lower legs, the ankles, and all the way down, right down into the feet, back to the soles of the feet, toes, and that contact of the soles of the feet against the surface beneath you. And as we do this practice together, we'll probably notice that our mind will wander off. So this is where you can practice kindness. So the mind wanders off. Oh yeah, gosh, I missed the last few minutes of that. Okay, yeah, mind has wandered off. Can you gently bring it back? So like you're taking the hand of a small child, you're just gently escorting your mind back to the body sitting here. And then you'll notice that it wanders off again. You could even check, where has it gone to? Is it something in the past or something in the future? Maybe even take a note of it. And trust that if something you need to tend to, that you'll get to it later on. But for now, you're just practicing mindfulness. And each time you can anchor your attention either on the body, so the feet on the floor, or if that's not easy to connect with for you, you could just choose to anchor your attention on sounds, the sense of hearing. And then you'll probably notice that the mind wanders off again. That's the magic moment of being mindful. Oh yeah, there goes the mind. And can I gently and slowly bring it back? And sometimes when we do this, we also notice that we could be carrying various different emotions, maybe worries or concerns, grief or sadness. So the invitation here is just to meet that as it is. No pressure to push anything away. No expectation to have to feel a certain way or feel differently. So you're just meeting yourself exactly as you are in this moment. And then before you know it, the mind will wander off again. You might even start to feel sleepy. Maybe you're zoned out, in a bit of a trance. So then you can choose to bring it back. So it's like you're training the puppy mind to keep coming back into this present moment, the here and the now. And I'm going to finish by reading a poem and just seeing where it lands. This is one that we share during our mindfulness session with the shedders on Tuesday, and it's one that I think a lot of people could connect with. So I just thought it's a nice one to have now, particularly as we enter into the silly season of Christmas, at the beginning now of the madness, and it can be a nice opportunity just to step back a little bit and take stock. So the poem is called Peace Is This Moment Without Judgment. So just seeing how it lands, you can stay as you are and just let the words wash over you or land whatever way they land. Do you think peace requires an end to war, or tigers eating only vegetables? Does peace require an absence from your boss, your spouse, yourself? Do you think peace will come some other place than here, some other time than now, in some other heart than yours? Peace is this moment without judgment. That is all. This moment in the heart space where everything that is welcome. Peace is this moment without thinking that it should be some other way, that you should feel some other thing, that your life should unfold according to your plans. Peace is this moment without judgment, this moment in the heart space where everything that is welcome. So that is the essence of mindfulness, meeting things as it is, as opposed to how we think it should be. So that is a line that I hold with me a lot lately, just as I'm going about my day. Peace is this moment without judgment. So just allowing those words now to maybe drift off into the background, and then starting to bring your attention back to the body again, preparing ourselves for the next part of this conference. So maybe connecting with the body, feet on the floor, there's your anchor. And you could just, even if your eyes have been closed, you could open your eyes if you wanted to, and just looking around your space. A sense of curiosity. It's like the first time you've seen it. Fresh eyes. Resisting the urge to look for faults like cracks or leaks, but just taking in your space. And knowing at any time you could just come back to the feet, connected to the floor, the body on the chair, and you're being mindful. And enjoying that feeling of relaxation then that comes into the nervous system, because when the mind and the body are aligned, it can be very, very peaceful and very grounding. So so feel free to move around now if you want, and just want to say thank you. Thanks for the invitation. Thanks for allowing me to come here and give you a flavor of mindfulness. If you're interested in giving it a go, we run sessions from 5 until 6 on Tuesday evenings. Really nice, very relaxed and light-hearted. Nice discussion as well, a lot of laughter. So I just want to wish you well for the rest of the conference, and thanks again for inviting me along.